try one more time. Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Looks like we finally got ourselves live on Facebook. Good evening, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching us live. We thank all the groups that you'll see scrolling or not scrolling tonight at the bottom of the screen. Bear with me 1 second, but we'll mention them right now. There we go. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities. Flo and the gang over at Bottom Line Sports. Excuse me. Let's Talk Sports, where Flo and the gang do their podcast. Make sure you check out Flo's podcast and all the stuff on Let's Talk Sports, as well as the guys that you see me do the national streaming sports stuff with. Lots of great shows out there, guys. Check them out, including you, Samuel Dean, calling me out last show. Who else? Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff with a Pittsburgh focus, but a national footprint, if you will. Specifically the Sports Corner with Smoking Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Check that out. Thumbs up, DDH. Thumbs up to our good friend Mac. Check out myself with Jack Hirsch on Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook coming up Friday. We're on every Friday and Monday at 8 a.m. And we'll catch you Sunday with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Who we got with us so far tonight? We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Good evening, Dave Guyette. Good to have you with us. Syracuse going to Clemson this weekend. Clemson about to get healthy. I'm sorry, Syracuse not that good this year. Good evening, Michael. Check out Michael Dinton Edwards' writing. You can catch all of his stuff on TGI Sports Talks Facebook page. I also share it to some of the groups and also my own page. Michael, I'm up to date. I think I haven't failed to post something, I hope. But good to have you with us tonight. Paul Spada out there in Wisconsin. Oregon fan. Thinks Oregon isn't getting their due. Well, stop playing Oregon State every week. Just kidding. Oregon with the Civil War. I found out that it's for a platypus trophy just about an hour ago. I did not know that. Not going to be many more of these Oregon State battles or Washington State battles that we're seeing this weekend because of the demise of the Pac-12 and I guess the resurgence of the Pac-12 will play into that in Oregon and Washington leaving for the Big Ten. Well, we do have some. We'll talk about the big takeaways from week 3. We'll get into the polls a little bit. We'll talk about the big games coming up this week. A couple of topics we can talk about: Notre Dame, Clemson. Either one of them, both of them, are they still alive for a playoff shot? I would say yes. Notre Dame's going to have to run the table and get some help probably. But if they run the table, they're probably going to have a shot at that 12th spot. Clemson better get healthy fast, and they better win the ACC. And Dabo's defending his record this week. Army-Navy is getting honored by the College Football Hall of Fame as a distinguished, what do they call it? Army-Navy game gets Distinguished Game honor, 25 Distinguished American Award. Coming from the National Football, that's the National Football Foundation's Distinguished American Award in conjunction with the College Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations to them. It's one of the great series in the history of sports, so probably overdue. Arch Manning says he's got to be better. I'm sure everybody else is saying the same thing. The Heisman odds have kind of moved around. Arch has dropped out. Some others have dropped out. Mateer and Beck kind of lead the way as far as the front runners right now. Some big games this week. And Brian Kelly apologizes for his comments at a press conference. It's entertaining. I don't think you need to entertain anybody. Good evening, Alan. Your Oklahoma Sooners with a big game this week against Auburn. I know you don't think Auburn's very good, and I think you think that because of Jackson Arnold. This is a bigger game. Actually, it's not a bigger game. This is a huge game for both these teams and both these coaches. Two coaches under fire coming into the season. Hugh Freeze taking his team to Norman to play Brent Venables Sooners. That's going to be a fun game to watch. Is that an early game, Alan? I'll check that out after. But good evening. Good to have you with us. Alan thinks Miami and FSU are both too good for Clemson to win the ACC. They don't have a league loss. Actually, they do. Sorry, they lost to Georgia Tech. My bad. So they're 0-1, and they pretty much got to run the table, I would say, because either Miami or FSU is going to go undefeated. Probably 2 losses might or might not get you in there. I do think Miami beats FSU next week. That's not a homer pick, by the way. But it's going to be interesting. Miami's got Florida this week, another big matchup. So, the takeaways from last week: LSU beats Florida as they should. The Billy Napier watch will start again. Oregon, so I can keep Paul happy, beats up on another. Not a Little Sisters of Poor, but we're not going to find out anything about Oregon until next week when they go to Penn State. Go win that game. Your team's going to get plenty of respect after that. Miami dismantle South Florida, take a little edge off of them. We can talk about the group of 5 contenders too. A&M with a big win over Notre Dame. Bad missed extra point by Notre Dame in that game to allow A&M to get away with a 41-40 lead. But for those of you guys who are going to dump on Notre Dame, they could still run the table here. Let's remember, they've lost now to 2 top 10 teams. That's all they lost to. Close games. With a new quarterback. Vanderbilt makes a statement, Coach. Why is his name escaping me all of a sudden? Not Shea. What's his name? You know this, Keith. We talk about him all the time. This is my brain on retirement, by the way. It's worse than the one when I was working, which wasn't all that great to begin with. Clark Lee. Jeez, good grief. I have Shea in my head. Big win over South Carolina. I'm starting to think South Carolina is not as good as what we think they are. Vandy's got 2 big wins over South Carolina and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech just fired the coach, as did UCLA, by the way. Deshaun Foster and Brett Pry, the first 2 coaches fired this year. Texas Tech with that big win over Clemson we talked about. There's a game I can't read my Ole Miss with a 41-35 win over Arkansas. And should have bet the over in that game, by the way. I lost it by half a point. And then can't read my other writing there. So, K-State's done after last week. Just a bad loss after barely getting by. K-State's just not played well all year. 1-2. They're not going to win the Big 12 this year. Utah's better than we think. Nice game with Texas Tech and Utah this week. Arch is going to be fine, by the way. I don't really buy into, oh my God, he's no good. I personally think there's a couple things going to be going on here, right? He's got a bad case of the yips. He's having a crisis of confidence, or he's just no good. And I think it's a crisis of confidence right now. I think he needs to have a really solid game, and it's the coach's job to make this happen. It's a coach's job to get this kid out of his own way and getting comfortable running this team. I think he'll be all right. It may not be this year, but I'm okay. I'm not giving up on Arch Manning after 3 games. Auburn can run the ball, but that's it. Game will be running the trenches, 3:30 kick. Thank you. That's good. I can watch that game. I'm really interested in that game. I'm really interested in Michigan and Nebraska this week. I like Nebraska to win at home. If you want to Show that you're back and you're relevant, Matt Rule in Nebraska. You haven't won a game like this in about 20 years. It's time. Or I will stop sticking up for you. I'm telling you. Oregon football, they're fourth in the country, Paul. Let's not say they're underrated. Again, where should they be? One? Got to play somebody, dude. Texas Tech versus Utah, big game, very big game in the Big 12. Probably the most important game we've seen so far today. It's fun. We're getting into conference matchups more so. We had a few last week, a few in the first few weeks, and now we're getting knee deep in conference play. Interconference, interesting game with Tulane at Ole Miss, I think, as well. Florida, Miami, I already talked about. In Illinois, Indiana in the Big Ten as well. Another interesting game. So very interesting games, I think, around the country this year. Danny Fuller with us. Danny, I know you've put out a GoFundMe page for Deshaun Foster, so congratulations on that. Are they going to get it? Who's going to be the coach? Can they? Here's the other thing, Danny. Here's the thing with UCLA. Are they committed to winning? Can they afford to be committed to winning? Because I know they're on the hook for a boatload of debt. Are they not? This entire athletic program at UCLA? Is this program committed to winning so they can get a coach in there that will bring them back? I mean, before the last, this team feels like I know Jim Mora had a couple of good years. But it feels like they haven't been necessarily relevant since they had a bad loss. And I'm trying to think who it was to, and we still had the BCS championship. And they were potentially going, I want to say 97, 98. I could be wrong. I'm trying to think who they lost to that knocked them out of that potential slot. I feel like they haven't been necessarily that relevant since. This team was the second, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they were the second winningest program in the history of the Pac-12 behind USC. I'm sorry for the dirty words. I enjoy the Oregon. Well, they won. You would enjoy it. I enjoy I enjoy watching Miami beat Bethune-Cookman. I enjoyed last night's game better. Tech Utah is a sneaky good game, Michael. I agree, as Alan had said. I think Utah's better. I always talk about Kyle Whittingham. He's a very, very good coach, and he has very physical football teams. Texas Tech has spent a bunch of money, $55 million plus, on this roster. A lot of it on pass rushers. It's going to be interesting to see what the Utah. This might be a low-scoring game, and since I said that, it'll probably be 40-35. Good afternoon, Rick. Haven't touched on Georgia. Nice win at Rocky Top, or on Rocky Top, or in Rocky Top. Typical. Georgia finds a way to win, like good football teams do and good coaches do. And Tennessee finds a way not to beat one of the top teams in the SEC. I very loudly proclaimed that I thought Georgia would not be a playoff contender. I'm not getting off that after that game because I saw some things that still make me wonder about Georgia, quite frankly. And special teams, as Rick has pointed out many times on this show and other shows of mine and other shows in general, often make the difference. And we saw it in the Notre Dame game. We saw it in the Tennessee, Georgia game. We saw it in a lot of games. And you see it week in and week out. Friendly wager on the game. What would you like to wager, Michael? We can dinner when we get together? Sure. Bring your wife. I forget where you're at. I know you're down. I think you're down south. I forget now, but We'll figure out a way. We got to figure out a way to get the group together somehow. I don't know how, but Coach Sark needs to go back to drinking. Oh, he probably will if he sees much more of this. I mean, Texas is starting to look like a 9-4 team. If they don't get better quarterback play, and listen, it's not just Arch either, because they're not running the football like they did last year. I think I saw a stat they were 74th. Remember, there's only 130-ish teams in FBS 1, and they're 74th or 75th or something like that in rushing. Last year, they were one of the top 5 teams. A lot easier to throw the ball when you run the ball. But again, Arch's problems, I think, are in his head. I really do. I think it's a crisis of confidence. And it comes from not playing. In my mind, you expect things to go badly. Look, you can go 11 of 25 or whatever he went last week against Ohio State. He played better against Ohio State than he did at UTEP. So there's something going on there, but I don't think there's another answer. They're just not any good. It's my only thought. I mean, they play bad. They don't play smart football. Bad penalties. I mean, Deion just ripped them. If you saw any, there was footage of him in the locker room afterwards last week. It just isn't a good football team, and they lost the heart of it. I mean, again, think what you want of Shedeur Sanders. He was a really, really, really good college football player. And they had the Heisman Trophy winner on both sides of the football. And they had a Horn. It was a Horn. The other kid, the other wide receiver, caught 100 balls. It's hard to replace that production, especially when you don't recruit and you're out there, rolling the dice in a transfer portal, and it doesn't work all the time. Florida State, Exhibit A last year, 2-10 or whatever they were. You roll the dice right, and you beat Alabama in game 1. Still not sold on Florida State. I love Mike Norvell. I've talked Mike Norvell up on the show a lot. But I'm not sold. We're going to find out next week, I think, because I think Miami's a lot better than Alabama, or Alabama just had a bad day. We'll find out. I have Utah with that game at home. I have Utah in that game. But Texas Tech, we'll find out. What does $55 million buy you? Does it buy you a conference championship and a trip to the playoff? Now, what do you do next year when you can only spend $20 million? That ain't happened. So money goes right back under the table. $10 million just being in the Big Ten will go to an interim. And we'll get a real guy for next year. Seriously, it's okay to be a 7-14, but to lose to a team they lost to the other the teams they lost to other Utah is unacceptable. I would have to agree. That's why Deshaun Foster's not there. And that's why I'm wondering, Danny, are they serious about winning? I mean, you would think so. Bring in Nico. I don't know. Bring Paul and Danny Fuller. I live in the Smoky Mountains, Virginia. I'm not good with geography, dude. When I play Jeopardy, geography is like my worst category outside of anagrams. Absolutely. Somehow, I don't know how we're going to figure it out, Paul. We'll figure it out. Because Michael's going to owe me dinner. Michigan. Oh, Danny. Dismantle. What's dismantle? 3 touchdowns? I think I'm going to tell you I want Michigan to win, or Nebraska to win. I will tell you, I'm off their bandwagon 100% if they don't, because this is the kind of game they haven't won, like I said, in 2 decades. And hopefully they do. Not just for my own sake, but listen, college football is better when historic programs like Nebraska are good. And it's been a long time since they were any good. When did they head to when did they go to the Big 12? 2012? Or were they before that? I think it was 2012. They haven't been relevant since. Matt Rule in his 3rd year. I know they haven't played great. They haven't played a lot of good teams. I got a feeling. Rick senior year, Tom Tessero failed to field a kickoff versus Scully, similar to the college game. We lost. It's not a recipe for winning, not picking up kickoffs, right? Billy Napier wants to know if he can do a podcast on TGI Sports Talk from his new office in East Potomac State next season. Listen, if they get embarrassed this week, I don't know if East Potomac State's going to want him. He'll have to get his own studio. But I'll bring him on. I'll co-host a show with him. There's a new show coming up on Hulu about a college football player. I've seen the commercials a couple of times now, and I saw a preview. I don't know what I was watching. It might have been during the Miami Notre Dame game. I can't think of the name of it now. But it's about an older guy who pretends to be a younger guy and gets on a college football team. It looks funny. I'll let you know if it's any good. Rick Sherlock's Ravens don't even know the kickoff rule. Kickoff rules are stupid. Who wants to learn them? Breaking news, NCAA is eliminating the spring transfer window. I thought that was done last week. No? Maybe they were just talking about it. They should do that, and they should push the winter one, by the way, to like January. Late January. Now you can't, and they'll say, well, you can't get enrolled that fast. Whatever. Are they going to class anyway? They're professionals now. I do talk Freeman up. I have for a while. So they were a couple plays away from winning a national championship last year, Danny. Didn't win. I get that. And I think Freeman, by the way, Freeman's rebounded from starts like this before and finished with pretty good seasons. I'm pretty sure if Notre Dame runs the table, and they don't have a lot of top-notch opponents ahead of them. USC's probably better than we thought they would be. We'll see how they are when they play Notre Dame. North Carolina State. I don't know who else they got. Stanford, Purdue. Get Purdue this week. They'll get healthy this week. Yeah, I'm not willing to. I jumped off his wagon after the Northern Illinois game last week, but I think you show something about your mettle as a coach when you rebound from something like that and rip off 10 or 11 or 12 wins in a row, whatever they did, to get to the championship game. And Ohio State was just more talented than that team. Now, you can't have missed extra points, and I always say that's coaching. But I think Freeman's gotten better and better in the job. Their defense is not that good this year. They miss Al Golden a lot. They've changed the schemes, and I don't think the schemes necessarily fits the personnel. So they might want to take a look at that. That's been their big problem in my mind. Defense. Can't give up 40 points to Texas A&M. And by the way, the other guy I talked about, Mike Norvell, should have got a chance at winning a national championship and had it ripped away from him by the ridiculous committee on the NCAA, because we can't let you go in undefeated regardless because you lost your starting quarterback. Let's see if they do that to Georgia or Alabama or Notre Dame or Ohio State. If they lost their quarterback in the last game of the season, would they keep them out even though they won their conference championship game with a backup quarterback? Didn't play very well. Ridiculous. Win a power conference undefeated and you don't get into the playoff. If everybody else that went was undefeated, I'd understand it. But I think Notre Dame gets in if they run the table, because I think the Big Ten, the SEC, even the ACC, and even the Big 12, they're gonna cannibalize each other a little bit. So again, by the time you get to those 11 and 12 spots, you're going to be looking at 3 lost teams. So East Tennessee. All right. Well, it was close, I guess. Gatlinburg. We were talking about moving at one point before our first granddaughter arrived, and now our second is going to be here in about 10 days. But that's not going to happen. We're talking about Tennessee a lot. Not a huge fan of Florida. I'd go to Florida, and we may do that. We may snowbird. Not this year, but in the future. But Tennessee was a place we likely, if we had moved, we would have settled. Your 2 boys, dismantling is 17 or more and dominating both sides of the ball. 2011, I believe, was when Nebraska made the move to the Big Ten. And they've been irrelevant ever since. Thank you, Chad Powers. Looking forward to that show. It's going to be fun. Let's take a quick look. Good afternoon. Good evening, rather. CA. Might be afternoon where you are yet. And AC. How you doing, buddy? Nebraska. AC. I may get AC on board with me like I did last year. Let's take a quick look at the rankings. So we had some changes. And I know, I'm sorry, you're 6th in the country, Paul. But I can't in good conscience say you should be above any one of these teams except maybe Penn State. So I could put you 5th and I could put Penn State 6th. Ohio State's still top 55 first place. Penn State gets 5. LSU gets 5. I'm sorry, LSU gets 2. Miami got 3 first place votes. And Oregon, the disrespected Oregon Ducks, get 1. She's listening to myself talk on the phone. That's your top 3. Miami's 4th. Georgia's 5th. Oregon's 6th. Florida State moves up 3 to 7 without playing, I believe. Texas drops 1 to 8. Illinois stays at 9. Texas A&M, a big move, 6 spots up to 10. That's your top 10. I got no arguments with any of that, so I see some Iowa State fans, talking about they're the only 4-0 team in the country. Listen, you had a nice win against what looks like not a good K-State game in week 0, but you struggled a bit with some lesser opponents here 2 of the last 3 weeks. You better play better than that once you get to Big 12 play. But anyway, Oklahoma is 11. Iowa State, as I mentioned, is 12. Ole Miss moves up 5. Ole Miss moves up 4. Alabama, trying to rebound from that bad loss to Florida State with a couple of wins in a row, moves up 5. Tennessee, despite losing, stays right at 15. Utah up 4. Texas Tech up 4 to 16 and 17. Georgia Tech with a huge move from outside the top 25 to number 18. Indiana with a big game against Illinois this week, moves up 3-19. Vanderbilt with a huge win over South Carolina, or South Carolina's not as good as we thought. I thought. I went through you guys in the bus with me. Indiana's up 3-19. Vanderbilt, as I said, nice win. Vandy might be the best team in Tennessee. Michigan up 2-21. Auburn up 2-22. Missouri up to 23. Notre Dame dropped 16 spots. That's the biggest drop we had, I believe. And USC moves into the top 25 at 3-0. Just missing out was BYU. Falling out was at South Florida, South Carolina. And somebody else had a fallout. I'm going to say it was probably Arizona State. It fell out of the top 25. The Quacks looked terrible last Saturday. Paul Spada, Homer Simpson. Listen, I don't know how good or bad they are. I really don't. Right? Their quarterback now has moved up in the Heisman projections. Again, it's just conjecture at this point. Right now, it's where are we? Mateer's at plus 850, and Carson Beck is plus 700. They'd be your two odds-on favorites. I'm trying to see who else might be here. Musburger's at plus 1,300. Dante Moore's at plus 1,300, the Oregon quarterback. Listen, Oregon. I'm going to tell you one more time. Sorry, Paul. I don't mean to talk down to you. I really not. So, who are you going to put them over, by the way? Do they have a better win than Ohio State? No. Do they have better wins than LSU? No. Do they have better wins than Miami? No. Do they have better wins than Georgia? No. I give you Penn State. And again, Penn State hasn't beaten anybody. But they've beaten the teams that they did play a little more handily than Oregon has. Oregon's going to dismantle, to use Danny's word, Oregon State. They better. But Northwestern's not a good football team. I get it. It's a Big Ten win on the road. You win by 20. That's fine. A little sloppy. You beat a horrendous Oklahoma State team at home and a horrendous Montana State team, FCS team. I shouldn't say horrendous, by about 35 or so. Well, I guess 45. Yeah, nice wins. But you haven't beat anybody better, again, other than Penn State. Everybody ahead of you has got at least one, if not two or three wins that are better than yours. So yeah, I can't help you. You can do. You'll make your own case next week when you go to Penn State. If you don't win that game, don't come to me with any excuses, man. Week 4 and no gone bonkers over Notre Dame yet. No one gone bonkers for Notre Dame yet. I still think Notre Dame wins out, as I just mentioned. I mean, jumping from 24 is going to be tough. They got Purdue this week. They're at Arkansas. They got Boise State, who's not as good as they were. They got NC State. They're going to play USC at home, at Boston College. Navy's going to, listen, their best two games are going to be wins, if they were to win, would be USC and Navy, most likely. Pitt's 2-1. Syracuse is terrible. Stanford's terrible. They're going to win out. And again, if these teams in the big conferences do what they did last year and beat each other up, well, Notre Dame's going to slowly creep back up there until they're sitting in that 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 spot and going to be in play for the 12th pick. They're going to be favored in every single game they play the rest of the year. Oregon speed should beat Penn State. Listen, I'm not saying Penn State's going to beat them. I'm just saying go there and take care of business because, again, they haven't beat anybody. For me to get excited about Oregon yet. I don't know what Dante Moore is yet. Played well against inferior competition. He's moved into the Heisman conversation. Oh, they might. I think, again, I think USC's better than they were last year when they were ranked in the top 10 about this time last year, if I'm not mistaken. I think heading into week 3 or 4, they were still around 10 or 11 in the country. They weren't that good. That's why, again, these early season polls, and we've talked about it many times, are a bit misleading. And why I wouldn't get excited if I was 6. Because Miami's played 2 really good teams. And they're about to play 2 really good. Well, Florida's not very good. They should be, but they're not. And they're going to get Florida State on the road next week. So you're going to find out a lot about Miami and Florida State the next couple of weeks. That LSU lineman's tackle on the Notre Dame lineman will resonate in the committee's mind. Should Notre Dame be on the fringe? I believe that. They didn't play LSU. Are we talking about A&M last week? Quite possibly, Paul. I don't know. I have no way to. I thought that's okay, Michael. I figured it was A&M. I'm not saying they're good or they're bad. I just don't know. I think that's a fair assessment at this point when they have played nobody of consequence. Right? I mean, I could make a better argument for Miami being higher than they are than you could, and I'm not going to do that. If we're going to use preseason polls, which are, ridiculous, but they're going to slot these teams where they slot them. Ohio State's done nothing to move out of the top spot since they got in it. Texas did fall out because they lost to Ohio State. Penn State, listen, I could make an argument. It's the only team I can make an argument for you being ahead. Notre Dame loses. Losing makes my faith in God stronger. Hello, Ed in Columbus. Good to have you with us. Michael, meet Ed. Ed, meet Michael. Ohio State versus Michigan. Who's your team got this week, Ed? I've already said that Michael's team will lose to Nebraska. Let me see. What the hell happened here? Somehow I got all out of sorts on this thing here. Jesus Christ. Let's see. Who's Ohio State got this week? Any chance to lose? My guess is no. Big 10, not the Big 18, because we can't count the higher schools of higher education. Oh, Ohio State's on bye. I like bye this week with the points. Thank you, Ed. Just save me time if I move quicker. Even again, I have no way. You can kind of convince me. I'm not going to change my opinion. Again, they may be very good, but the defense, because they've only given up 20 4 points or something like that. But again, they haven't played a good team. Don't tell me Oklahoma State's any good. They didn't win a league game last year and not going to win one this year, likely. Mike Gundy, another one of my favorites, going to be out the door. That gets me the Ohio State bye information. Glad, nice to meet you. Rivals make the world grow stronger, my friend. They do. They do. We have a lot of fun talking about that. Oregon could suck and I'd still love them. Well, you should as a fan. There's nothing wrong with that. Thank you, Danny. As a fan, you should stick up for them. You're fine. Clemson losing makes faith in God even stronger than my previous comment. Wow. So I didn't know God cared about football so much. Wouldn't you have better things to do? I always think that as I see, again, I know you're being facetious, Ed. So, but every time I see players pointing, is God paying attention to everybody who points to the skies? Everybody who thanks their Lord and Savior after a victory. Does he really know? I hope not. Oregon will be 12 teams to lose. Another no banner year for the Quacks. We're one of 12 teams. So you're saying I say they'll be in the playoff. I picked them to win the Big Ten, so I don't think I've underestimated your team, by the way, Paul. I picked them to win the Big Ten, and I picked Nebraska to make the playoff. I think I got 3 teams. I got Ohio State. I had Illinois there, and Illinois or Nebraska will probably be that team. And I'm sorry, Ohio State. Sorry, Michael. Where was I? We talk about the playoff, the group of 5, and next year it'll be group of 6, by the way, with the Pac-12 back. But the group of 5 race this year is going to be very interesting. I looked for a while, like South Florida might run away with this thing. But right now, nobody's ranked, and this thing is still wide open. Teams to get votes are South Florida, Tulane, Navy. Don't count Navy out of this playoff race. I'll tell you right now. I'm looking at teams from the group of 5s to get votes yet. South Florida still got pretty strong support. Tulane support's picking up. Navy got 1 vote this week. UNLV got 2. Remember, it's going to be the highest rated group of 5 conference winner to get in. I like Navy's chances. I don't think Boise State is out of this yet. I don't think James Madison is out of this yet. And to me, that's interesting. I know a lot of people go, who cares? Those teams can't win. They should let all the conference winners in. We should have 16 teams, 10 conference winners, 6 at large, and that's a real playoff. I had this argument with my good friend John DeLon, who's missing, and we hope he's okay. We hope he just stopped watching the show. Well, just because you like somebody doesn't mean they're any good. Oh, what I do here, Michael? Big matchup. This is a tough one for me. Indiana's beaten up again, similar to Oregon and some other teams. Has really beaten up on some inferior competition the first couple of weeks. There's a lot of people who think Indiana's better than they were last year when they went undefeated until they hit a big roadblock in Ohio State. Kirk Cignetti does nothing but win. Google him, he says. I like Illinois in this game. This is a big game in the Big Ten, for sure. But this is another reason, and this game could go either way. If these teams played 10 times, they'd probably go 5-5. That's why I do think there's going to be a lot of cannibalization, just like last year, in the Big Ten, the SEC, also the ACC. Maybe not as much in the ACC. We'll see. But the Big 12, again, I think it's very possible that all of these league champions come out of there with 2 losses or 3. Not in the league. A couple losses in the league. I mean, all of those conferences likely will have teams in their conference championships with 2 losses. I shouldn't say likely. Better chance than not. Right? Happy birthday to Brick Travis, who would have been 128 today. Someone's going to say that. You guys will be saying that about me someday. Brick was a Missouri College alum. Fellow alumni include Trey Vora. Is that Missouri, as in Missouri that we know in the SEC? I don't think it is. Fellow alumni includes Trey Warvalis Sims. How would I do? Who tipped the scales at 336 pounds. Just a little less than me. Kidding. Dan Mullen is the UNLV coach, doing a really good job there. They are live to represent the Group of 5 for sure. And Dan Mullen, I wonder how long he'll be at UNLV if he really is serious about coaching. I mean, the problem with Dan Mullen was he didn't like to recruit. He liked to coach. He liked game day, but he didn't like a lot else about college football coaching, which is what really chased him out of Florida. So your dad was a Navy guy. Navy's got a very real chance, by the way. And this week they've got North Texas, which is a big game at home in Annapolis. And Air Force has I take that back. That's North Texas is going to Army. That's bad. Navy's on a bye. North Texas is going to Army, which is a conference game in the American. And Boise State is playing at Air Force, who I think is better this year. Troy Calhoun's a really good coach and has been for quite some time. They had a pretty bad year at Air Force last year, but I think this year they're going to be much better than they were. I don't think they're winning the conference good, but we'll see. But thank you to your dad for his service. Let's see. Let's take a quick peek, by the way, at the our pool, which is not pretty. Right now, everybody struggled last week. 5 was a big. 5 out of 10 was the best anybody could do. That was James Martin, the J Train. Allen had 5. They're both. Beamer Ball had 4. And those 3 are tied at 18 wins. The rest of us suck. VWP. Did I figure out who that was last week? 15. If you ain't cheating, which is Brian 15, myself 15, Rick with 14, Danny with 13. This is straight up, guys. We're not doing very good. Paul with 12. We got a generic ESPN fan with 11, but also missed a week, actually. That's one of the better scores. We got another generic at 10 and 20. Scott Kobe, who jumped in last week, went 3 and 7. If you remember, Scott was telling us last week that the reason he didn't get in, where are you tonight, Scott? The reason he didn't get in is he didn't want to embarrass us. So, anyway, Scott had 3 wins last week, to be clear. And my picks this week in the pool, just to give you my picks, so we're on the up and up, even though I can't change them once we start. I could change them. Here we go. I have Utah over Texas Tech. I like Memphis at home. Going against the grain here a bit, but I'll take the American Conference to get it up an upset probably at home. I don't know if Arkansas is favored in this game or not. Let's see. Are they? Memphis is off to a 3-0 start. I like them at home, and they're probably getting 7.5. I'm going to take Memphis to get an upset here on the road and really put Sam Martman in trouble there. TCU, I like at home against SMU. That should be a high-scoring game. I think the over in that game may be a bet for me. Nebraska, I'll take because I have to back up my chit-chat. I like UCF to beat North Carolina. Bills won 2 in a row now. I'll go against the grain here and take Duke against North Carolina State. I like the Devils, the Blue Devils at home. I'll take Miami over Florida. And I have Illinois beating Indiana on the road. Big Big Ten matchup. And Baylor, I like to win a better than we think Baylor team to win against so far disappointing 2-1 Arizona State team in the playoff last year, off to a 2-1 start with a loss at Mississippi State. So some interesting picks there. Did I figure that out? That's you. Oh, I did. You told me this last week. You'll probably be telling me this every week, so I apologize ahead of time. Chris F. Grave, the man, the legend, the voice. I see Chris F. Grave's voice messages pop up in my messenger on Facebook, and I get all excited. Because I don't know what voice he's going to use, and it's always something that makes me smile. So thank you for that, Chris. You're a lot of fun. And Michael, I'll try to remember this, and maybe this will sink into my brain sometime around, I don't know, January. We're all terrible right now, Paul. What's that? The famous Michael Ditton Edwards. I say the Ditton right. It has been a crazy season. I mean, a lot of weird stuff happened, especially with the 10 games that they put in these picks on ESPN. So interesting. I think he was scared. Who? Are we talking about Scott? Oh, that's why Scott hasn't come in tonight? Scott usually shows up like 5 minutes before I end every show. For my Michigan win dinner, I don't want any kids' meal from Wendy's. No, I wouldn't take you to Wendy's. I only roll with the Supreme from Pizza Hut. Save your pennies. No Pizza Hut. We go to a real restaurant. Maybe not Prime or anything. I don't need a $95 steak. But you like Mexican, Michael? We got some great Mexican restaurants. Fly in, take you to dinner, fly out. Sounds like a good use of money, correct? Dighton, long I, Dighton. All right. I probably won't remember that either. So don't hate me. I really try to say their names right. So speaking of smiles, time for your jingle. Oh, we haven't had my jingle in a while. You want to hear the jingle? All right, we'll pause for a little quick jingle. I'll be back in about, where is it? Is that the right one? 22 seconds.
Keith Engle, the guy with the sports talk show. On the internet, he's the guy that we all know. If you love your sports, he's the guy for you. He has lots of shows on Roku. Keith Engle with the TGI Sports Talk Show.
Those are the dulcet tones of the late Mac McGrath. And Rick prompts me to play that every few weeks. And lets us remember our good friends. So thank you for prompting me to do that. And Dighton. So you guys keep telling me that, so I'll remember maybe. If you say it over and over again, there's a chance this thing in my head absorb some information and I will say it correctly. Because unlike players that I don't care if I pronounce their names correctly, I like to pronounce my followers' names correctly. Michael Dighton Edwards. Spada. What do I call you, Spada? I'm just going to call you Boston Paul. It makes it easier for me. Paul Spada. Why does there no Y in it? I say everything phonetically. Die. Oh, I would have been right. Actually, I would, if I did it phonetically, I probably would have pronounced Michael's name correctly. But your name, I wouldn't, Paul. Spada. Put a Y in there. Make it easy for guys like me who went to Perth. You're worth the $95 steak. Totally enjoy the show and appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Michael. We haven't got a nice little community, right? Respect back at you. You take care, bud. Good having you with me tonight and always. So have a good night. You say this all the time and then you pop back in here, but that's fine. Yes, be kind. Be kind to your host. The jingle. You haven't seen that one yet before, Michael? The late, great Mac McGrath sent that to me one day. And we'll keep playing that whenever Rick reminds me. Second the jingle. It is kind of cool. We miss Mac. 3 years later, I'm still waiting for my cheesesteak from Mark Mancini. He messaged me out of nowhere. And if you see this, Mark, get Rick his cheesesteak. I do post to Mark's group. He'll message me out of nowhere now and again. I don't know if he's still doing podcasts or what he's doing. But anyway, just to pronounce it, Spada. Got to be a Y in there for guys like me. Some people say that, yes. Ed says the jingle's Grammy worthy. Maybe we should submit it for a Grammy. And Matt can win it posthumously. Present it to Linda on the show. What would be the category? Oh, God. Right? Actually, my name is probably harder to, if you don't see it, than Spada. Yeah, I mean, again, if I do phonetically, it looks like that. So, anyway. What else did I want to talk about? I've seen some comments about Notre Dame and not about Clemson. And Dabo Swinney had a big press conference just the other day, really defending his record. I mean, they've won the ACC 8 of the last 10 years, right? They haven't had a top 10 finish in the last, since 2020, I think. Haven't been to the playoff. Oh, they went to the playoff, sorry, this past year. But that was first trip in like 3 years. When did with the records that, I mean, they win 10 games every year. They'll likely win 10 games this year. Maybe they'll win 9. I don't think the game is. Dabo needs to embrace the portal. I mean, this year was supposed to be the year that proved us that Dabo's, see another name I struggle with, that Dabo's way was the right way. Build a team through recruiting, let them matriculate through the process and gain experience and have third and 2, 3, 4 year starters. So far, it isn't working out. There was a comment earlier that they didn't think Spader. Ah, well, there you go. James Spader. That's a good one. I don't know why I say James Spader's name the right way, but not yours. I really don't. Because I probably heard his name spoken aloud before I ever tried to say it. Got me off track here. It's getting to be like the stream of consciousness here. They've already got a loss in conference. They probably can't afford another loss. I've already said I think Notre Dame, if they run the table, still makes the playoff. And I may think about a bet on the national championship for Notre Dame. Because I guarantee it's a good price right now. But let's see where Clemson falls. Where is Clemson? Not ranked, right? Can't be ranked. So I guess I got to go elsewhere to get their. I want to get their record. I want to see where they're going to finish. Right now, they're last in the ACC. They don't have Miami on the schedule. They don't have Florida State on the schedule. Oh, they do have Florida State on the schedule, which will help them, by the way, if they were to win. They got Syracuse this week. That's a win. They're at North Carolina. That's a win. They're at Boston College. That's a win. SMU at home. You'll score a lot of points. I think it's a win. I think they beat Duke at home. Florida State is at home. That's going to be a tough game. I think Clemson will be better by then. Let's just say they lost to Florida State. They'd have 2 losses in conference. They'd be 6-2 in a conference. Might be enough to get to the conference championship game. They probably got a better chance of getting to the playoff than Notre Dame even has, I would say. 2025 LSU is Death Valley. 2025 Clemson is Dead Valley. Are you a believer in LSU, Ed? Even though they have a coach sent from that awful place in Indiana? I think LSU's got a very good team. Their defense is really good. Now, and Brian Kelly, listen, I've been hard on Brian Kelly. But he's finally got himself a defense. They're 3-0 in great part because of the improvement on defense. And he blows up the other day because he gets a question. The first question he gets about his offense. He's 3-0. The offense will get better. But I don't think and he apologized for blowing up at the reporter. I don't think he should have to apologize. Not a believer. I'm not either because I'm a big Brian Kelly fan. But their defense has been exceptional through 3 games. And they beat 2 very good programs. Which is why I can't rank Oregon ahead of them. Yet. That's only a yet. You know, it's funny too, and now James isn't here. I'm sure you have a comment on this. I've talked about this before. There are some schools that feel like, you know, that they're football royalty, if you will. I don't think of LSU when I think of football royalty. I really don't. Maybe that's not fair. I mean, I think of Alabama as football royalty. I think of Texas as football royalty. I think of Ohio State and Michigan as football royalty. Notre Dame, sorry, Ed. USC, sorry, Danny. Football royalty. LSU fans seem to think they're in that league historically. I'm not talking about the period of time we might be in right now with teams like USC. Texas hasn't won in a while. Just talking about historic programs. I don't feel like LSU's in that group. LSU fans think they are. Maybe that's not fair to me. What are some of the other big games this week? I'll give you my picks. Go to top 25. I'm going to write down the schedule here. I'm sure it'll give you top 25. I'm just going to pick out some games that I like. If you guys got other games you're interested in, throw them out there. Iowa Rutgers. I got some interest there. Rutgers starts off 3-0. They got Iowa coming to East Rutherford. I think Rutgers has got a chance here because of the Iowa offense, despite last week's performance, is not any better than it's been for a while. We heard this was going to be a new look offense. I haven't seen it. I like Rutgers in this game. Texas Tech at Utah. I like Kyle Whittingham's Utes here. This is going to be a very physical football game, I would say. I already picked Memphis over Arkansas. Wisconsin. I don't care about that game. Clemson and Syracuse. Clemson's going to hammer Syracuse this week. Not interested. Virginia Tech has got a new coach. Brett Pry got fired after an 0-3 start. They have Wolford, so a good place for a new coach to start. I feel like I'm a little bright on my face today. SMU TCU, an interesting game. I like the over 64 here. I like the over more than the game. TCU is a 6.5-point favorite. Don't care. North Texas and Army. I would think Army with the points at home. They had a bad loss to Tarleton State at home. Then they go to Kansas State and win. I can't figure that one out. What else do we like? Oregon State, Oregon. Oregon's going to roll in this game. Oregon State's really, really bad. Kansas State, Florida, or Kent State, Florida State. Florida State's going to roll up another big win. Kent State, one of the worst programs in the country, although they did get a win, which they did not do last year. Auburn at Oklahoma. Speaking of which, Danny's absolutely right. Oklahoma, didn't mean to leave them out. Oklahoma's definitely historic. Listen, I think Nebraska is also an historic program, right? I left out two teams from the old Big Eight. Good catch. Thank you. Sounds like you just bet $1 on the roughhousing, but not meant to be offensive Irish for the rest of the year. You could. Roughhousing. Don't get me going on changing a freaking logo for crying out loud. Good grief, man. Kent State would beat UCLA today. Oh, good call. Tulane at Ole Miss, I think, is an interesting game, and maybe a big game for Tulane. Maybe a bigger game for Tulane than Ole Miss. Tulane has gone into these, power conference sites, home fields, and given teams scares the last few years. I like Tulane to at least cover the spread here, maybe win outright. Nebraska and Michigan. Michigan's down to 1.5. Somebody told me 2.5 earlier. Purdue and Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to get healthy. James Madison Liberty. That's a big game for the group of fives. What is that? I think Conference USA. What else do we like in here? NC State and Duke. It's on the ESPN game. We already talked about that. Temple, after 2-1 start, going to go to Georgia Tech. Good chance for Georgia Tech to keep their hot streak going. They should not lose to Temple at home. West Virginia and Kansas. Two Big 12 teams, middling maybe. Kansas offense is really good. Not sure their defense is good enough to win this conference, but they'll be entertaining. Lance Leopold may not be there much longer. South Carolina needing a big win at number 23, Missouri. Missouri's 10.5-point favorite there. I'm going to have to like Missouri. I love Shane Beamer, and I love what he's done at South Carolina, but this is not a good start for them. They could easily be 0-3. Boise State at Air Force. I like Air Force in this game at home. Florida at Miami. Miami should win. 7.5 point spread. Don't like the number a lot. It feels like a 7. This feels like a 7-point game. Illinois, Indiana. I like Illinois going in here on the road. Washington State in the last Apple Cup that might get played in a while. I like Washington State to cover the spread at home, 20.5. Washington will win this game. Arizona State, Baylor. Big game for Arizona State to try to get back on the right track after a bad loss, in my mind, on the road to Mississippi State. What else do we like? I'll be back to your comments in just a second. Colorado's got Wyoming. Colorado's a 13-point favorite. They lose this game. Dion may just have to, I don't know what he's going to do. You got to recruit. You can't just work in the transfer portal and be consistent. You can't lose as much talent as they lost last year and replace it in the portal. You have to recruit to be able to fill those holes when they leave and then use the transfer portal to kind of supplement that. And that's, well, even that's not that. Thinking Michigan State in the Big Ten goes to USC. USC's a big favorite that game. I like the Trojans. And the rest of the games I'm not all that hot about. And your Boston Paul. Danny is Captain Danby. Michael is Fantasy World Peace. What's Keith's nickname? Keith is a Tweedler, and I cannot tell you why, but it comes from a game. If any of you guys are older like I am. No, you're not as old. If you ever played a game called Balderdash, that's where the name comes from, and I'm going to leave it at that for now. Maybe on the Stream of Consciousness show someday we'll talk about it. The Great Retired Ones, I'll take that. Reverend, somebody else called me the Reverend once. Maybe it was you, Chris. I thought there was somebody else that did that once. I am an ordained minister, according to the Church of Universal Hope, or whatever the hell it is. So, yes, I could be the Right Reverend Keith, I guess. It's been almost a year since I married anybody. I married my niece and her wife last October. You missed a Morris Howard game. I did. I missed a few in there, actually. You know what? Speaking of teams, I was looking at I think it was an article in the Athletic, and they were talking about this year's Indiana, right? And somebody had mentioned somebody in the ACC. Who was it? As being this year's Indiana, and I think it might have been. Hang on one second. Let me take a quick look here. Let me get back to the standings here. Who are they talking about? Georgia Tech as being this year's Indiana. And the comment from the Athletic contributor was that Georgia Tech has been pretty good under Brett Key the last couple of years. 7-6. So they were coming out of nowhere like Indiana did. I mean, they'd won like 5 games in 3 years. And a better example would be Cal, who's 3-0 right now and really has a pretty good schedule. They don't see Miami. They don't see Clemson. They don't see Florida State. I mean, this is a team that could come out of nowhere to move up these standings fairly quickly. And be in play in the ACC. They've got they're at San Diego State this week. They're at Boston College. They've got Duke at home, Carolina at home, at Virginia Tech, Virginia at home, at Louisville, which is probably the toughest game we just talked about, at Stanford in a rivalry game, and SMU. So they got a couple of tough games there, maybe in Louisville and SMU. And again, I'm not saying any of these games will be walkovers for them, but this is a team that could possibly. When I read this, I'm like, Cal, but you go look at the schedule and it's possible. Michael Vick is 45 now. Where was he at college? Standout, Virginia Tech. His name is going to get kicked around for that job, by the way. He's coaching at Norfolk State right now. I know Danny doesn't want to hear about Michael Vick, but I'll bring him up only because he was brought up by Chris. He was a standout at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech went to a national championship game with him long before the dogfighting days. And his name is going to get kicked around for this job. I don't think he'll get it, but we'll see. What else? Well, we got before we kick the show around again. A couple of coaches fired, and Deshaun Foster and Brett Pry. Just see if there's any other big news we want to kick around here before I go. Colorado's quarterback Salter is expected to play. He got injured last week. Florida got a assistant coach suspended for his role in a scuffle with LSU last week. Told you that Brian Kelly apologizes. I don't know that he needs to, and I'm not his biggest fan, but what can you do? Not seeing much other news there. I'm interested. There's a couple games I really think are going to really tell the story. This has been a weird season, right? That Tech-Utah game, Auburn-Oklahoma, Michigan-Nebraska, Illinois-Indiana, I think are the games, the key games to watch this week. And we're going to have a better idea of where we're headed with some of these teams. And that Oklahoma-Auburn game, again, two coaches in trouble when the season started. And I'm not sure that both these coaches are going to survive the season. They're both off to decent starts. And this game might tell the difference in the direction these two teams head the rest of the season. Mateer is kind of put the gambling allegations behind him. They kind of went away pretty quickly, interestingly enough. So I don't know how much there was to those. And is now emerged as one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy. We'll see how that goes. A lot of football to be played here. Like 9 more games in a regular season. And Jackson Arnold, as you heard earlier from Alan, the Oklahoma Sooner fan, can't throw the football. I think he throws the football well enough because with that running game that Auburn has, including Jackson Arnold, I think they go into Oklahoma and win that game. So, and that Miami-Michigan game, I think, is going to be interesting too. Anyway, programming note. Next week, we'll be doing a show on Tuesday again. Wednesday night, we have tickets to a show, A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical. Going with some good friends, so we'll be out to dinner and out to the show afterwards. So we'll do the show on Tuesday night next week. And I'll post that on the site as well. Miami, Florida should be a bigger game than expected. Or could be. Yeah, I could. Listen, I don't doubt that, actually. I think I told you I don't like the number on the game. Miami's playing really good football. Carson Beck has been everything you'd expect a healthy Carson Beck to be. The defense has been really good. They're running the football well. But this is where this team has tripped up over the years. And I hope they aren't looking ahead to their big ACC matchup with Florida State a week from now. Because looking ahead is going to get you in trouble every time. Well, Well, I don't think the rest of the team is that good, though. That's the problem. Salter's going to get lost in the muck and mire that is Colorado's season, in my mind. But I don't think he's a bad quarterback. But you can't live in the portal, man. You got to recruit. I mean, a really good program. The programs that are good year after year, the Georgias, the Alabama, yes, the Ohio State, Michigan, they're just living in the portal. They're also recruiting. And the portal just fortifies your recruiting efforts. That should be what it is. If you're going to sustain success year after year, you can't just live in the portal. Florida State tried that last year. They saw what happened. Now, again, they rolled the dice again this year because their recruiting hasn't caught up yet. So you've got to recruit. You can't just live in a portal. You give your Salter? You mean as a give it to him for his fantasy team, I take it? He's playing on a bad football team. That's the problem with Salter. All right, guys, that's going to be it. We're going to wrap it up. Again, I'll be just let you know my heart's still beating. I'll give you Friday this weekend. All right, guys. We're going to say goodnight. It looks like it's going to be a good football weekend again. The weather looks great here. I plan to be out on the deck with a fire watching Miami and Florida. Watch for the pictures on Facebook. I'll be out there with a little cognac or something. Keep me warm. But we'll see you next week on Tuesday at 7 p.m. And you'll see me Friday with Jack on the Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. And we'll be back with the MLB update on Friday. We'll have the Sunday Stream of Consciousness on Sunday. You guys have been awesome as always. Good to have you with us. Undefeated like always. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Guys, have a great weekend. I appreciate all you guys. Bye-bye.